Wrestling Hangout. My name is Triple H Guy 2004, and my guest and my co-host for this great hangout is the one, the only, the real Mark Golden. Mark, how the heck are you tonight?
I am doing stupendously. And yourself?
I can't complain. Just got done watching TNA, some TNA wrestling.
As did
We,
I.
yeah, we have a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and his name is the
Bob?
Monster, Bobby Lashley.
Mm,
So
yeah, that
right
was a
off the top of the
surprise.
bat, what do you think about this? Right off the top of the bat, let's get to this.
Okay. Yeah, that was a shocker. I really didn't think that was going to happen because usually when the cards are stacked so against a face champion, he will persevere, and it's predictable. But this was a surprise. I really didn't see it coming. That was something different. It was neat.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll last. I don't think he'll be the champ for a long time, but it was just a neat little twist.
right. So you think he'll be like kind of a couple week champion while they figure out who they're going to give it to next?
No, I think eventually EY will he'll get his rematch, and I think eventually he will regain the title. But see, the thing is that the reason that they put the title on EY in the first place is because of his Animal Planet show, and that's a cross promotion. It's pretty smart. I don't think Bobby Lashley will keep the title for too long.
Right. And of course, at the end, we had has he been gone for a while? We had the return of
Bobby Roode, yeah, he's been gone for about a month now, yeah. So that was a nice surprise too. I will tell you, and I'm sure we're going to really cover the whole show. But I was looking forward to hearing an announcement regarding the Bound for Glory series because I know that in the past it had been in the last few years. The announcement regarding it, or they're starting the qualifiers or whatever, started right after Slammiversary, and I hope they do it again this year. I was always a really big fan of that particular concept. I hope they do it again this year. I haven't heard either way, but I hope that they do.
I haven't seen either way on that. Yeah, I really like the Bound, like you said, I like the Bound for Glory. It's different. It's a different way, and it uses up. What does it usually go from like July to?
No, usually, like I said, it usually starts right after Slammiversary, so it's mid to late June until usually mid-June, right about now. This Impact Wrestling in the past, this particular week would have been the start of it in one way or another, and it goes until usually late September.
Well,
It's compelling television. It's compelling television. It's episodic television, just like a tournament would be. As it is a tournament, it's round robin, but it leads to really compelling TV, I think, wrestling television.
Right. Well, I think they're focusing right now on the New York tapings.
Yeah.
Mostly. I think maybe after that, like I said, it'll probably start in July. They'll start, maybe at the tapings next week, maybe they'll give us a hint of it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that was tonight's little moment with Tommy Dreamer talking with Dixie. I think that was definitely a seed planted for the New York tapings in the Hammerstein.
Right. Yeah. So let's get into the TNA Tonight show. Of course, this was mainly centered around MVP, like it has been lately. What do you think of the MVP show?
I'm not sure what they're doing because him and Dixie are at odds. He and Dixie are at odds. She ran the show like it was her own, and then he took power from her specifically for the point of not being that way, and then he's doing the same thing. So it's kind of nonsense. I really don't know what the long-term plan is, if there even is one. So, I mean, it's okay. You're still. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm not. Like I said to my dad watching this, I was kind of getting sick of the whole show being centered around MVP. I know they have to have MVP be the center point, but it's almost too much for me, anyways.
Well, his segments led to matches. I will tell you what I think TNA does, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I don't care. Maybe some will agree with me. But they have 2 hours of television time per week. And I've said this every time you and I've talked, I think. They waste. It was such a hot crowd in Bethlehem, PA tonight. They wanted action. There were some good tag team matches. There were 2-3 title matches. The crowd was into it. The crowd wanted action. And every time, the Tommy Dreamer segment was okay. But there are too many extended talking segments. Like, what was the point with the knockouts? I mean, it was just talking and talking and talking. When you have an hour and 45 minutes of actual airtime, maybe an hour and 40, considering the commercials for Dove chocolate and Domino's pizza and whatever else they have every time, but they waste. They need to maximize the time that they have available to them. You don't watch any sports, any sports. Football, I know it isn't sports, but if you're talking about physical competition or any sports entertainment, quote unquote, which I hate that term, but if you watch a football game or a basketball game or an MMA fight, you know, they're not out there in the middle of their cage or the football field talking about what they're going to do. They're just it's the game, it's the fight, it's the action. And I think wrestling is not that far off as far as what the fans want to see now. Maybe it worked in 1998 when everybody was a lot of talking, but I think that's kind of anyway. It's okay if you have WWE with their own network and 17 hours of cable time a week, but when you have 2 hours to get your product across, it should not be wasted with a lot of long talking parts. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I was getting sick of the MVP show. It's not that I'm sick of MVP himself, but it's just, you know, MVP's just talking for basically half the show.
Yeah, there was that, and Dreamer and Dixie and the knockouts. They tried to do the TNA 24/7 365 whatever app or on their website. At one time, remember about 2 years ago or so, they used to have Reaction, which was an hour long backstage. They caught up with the guys after the show. What happened? What was going on with this? I liked that. I thought it was kind of a good idea. Because
I heard about it. I never actually tuned into it myself, but I heard.
Well, yeah, like they would have. For example, if they had done it now, they would have caught up with Bobby Roode. They would have caught up with EY after his title loss. They would have caught up with the knockouts after getting beat up and stuff. And what do you think? And what are your plans for next week and that sort of thing? And it was a nice in between, considering they only have 2 hours a week, rather than have a 23-minute in-ring conversation. They should do something like that, I think, and bring back that Reaction type show. I like that. I think that made a lot of sense.
What did you think? We've talked a little bit about the Dixie Carter and Tommy Dreamer segment. What did you think about this? This was kind of dumb.
Well, I mean, Tommy gave a really impassioned. He sounded like he was talking from the heart. I was tweeting with Ryan, Horseman Hangout Tuesday nights right here on Google Plus, and we were going back and forth about it, and I think as long as it leads to something, because it was impassioned, it was very passionate. He felt so he was talking from the heart about the state of wrestling itself, and specifically TNA. Right. Look, if it leads to, they've already done. How many times have they done ECW related major storylines in TNA? At least twice.
Yeah, the ECW thing's been overdone. I mean, we've had the reunion show. The guys are most of the guys are too old to go, or most of them are dead. You know,
Yeah.
there's not that crop of guys people want to see. There's, we already see that the guys that they would bring in, like Bully Ray, we see them on a weekly basis, or Devon, whatever. Those guys we already see. Maybe not Devon as much anymore, but we already see those guys. So it's been already overdone. So if this leads to another ECW type thing, I don't know.
Well, maybe I spoke out of line there, but it's this House of Hardcore. I don't know what kind of a roster Tommy has for these House of Hardcore shows. If he has younger guys, and it's a more violent wrestling, or I've honestly never seen it. But I know Tommy's an agent with TNA, so maybe they're gonna unite the two companies. I don't know. I don't know what his hardcore wrestling organization. I don't know who they have. I don't know if it's Sandman and Sabu matches. I honestly don't know. So if it's got younger guys and some recognizable faces, I don't know what they're planning, but I think it specifically surrounds and revolves around the New York tapings of next week.
Right.
But I don't think it'll be a long-term thing. It's probably just specifically for the Hammerstein Ballroom shows.
Well, I guess this all stemmed from Bully Ray being booked on the show, and then Dixie Carter pulled him off the show to go to some award show to represent TNA, I guess, is what the deal was.
They addressed that tonight, and I think that was just a prelude to tonight's angle, which is we'll see what they do with it. I don't know. We'll see. If it's leading to a meaningful couple of weeks of TV, then fine. But if it's going to be a long-term, who knows? They're talking about the 6-ring changing. I don't know what they're planning, but they're planning something.
Right. Talking about that, what do you think about that? What do you think about the 6-sided ring?
I'm a voter. I'm a registered voter. I cast my vote. I am a traditionalist, as you know. I like tradition. I like old school. I am just old school when it comes to wrestling. However, it was always a very unique. It was kind of their fingerprint in a way. Their unique style. The 6-sided ring. A lot of the guys like it, and a lot of the guys don't. But a company that was pretty much founded on what they call the X division, which is more or less just a wilder light heavyweight division, but you had guys doing high spots after high spots. High spots are okay. I don't know. I like a story being told, a match having a story, telling a story, selling, getting that emotion from the crowd, and you're going to have people yelling and screaming for, this is awesome, and you're going to see a lot of crazy spots and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. There's no denying that. It's fun. But if the 6-sided ring is going to change or determine let me scratch that. If it's going to be so gimmicky that it's going to affect every match, then it's kind of weird, but it is there. It's not necessary, but it was their original idea. It's groundbreaking. It's unique in professional wrestling, and it kind of they were pretty famous for that. And if it's going to put more asses in every 18 inches, then more power to them.
Well, my understanding is not completely for the permanent. I thought it was just for the New York tapings, but
no, they said it will whatever one wins the vote will be will start at that particular set of tapings. You can't say start because they already have a 4-sided ring. It's not like they're gonna It's not like it's 6-side ring versus 3-sided ring. You know, it's either going to be the 4-sided ring or the 6-sided. I don't know it. I don't know. It's sometimes, and I remember some of the matches in the 6-sided ring. It seemed a lot of guys lost their positioning, and it was a little awkward. And I don't know. It's you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Before AJ Styles said that once they went to the 4-sided ring, it was like a different ring, and it was better for bumping. From what I've read, a lot of the guys didn't like it, and it was very hard to bump on the 6-sided ring. And AJ Styles, like I was saying, he said it was like bumping on a cloud in the 4-sided ring.
Well, I don't know about the stiffness of it. I'm just talking about it seemed like some of the guys, especially guys that weren't doing planchas and topes and moonsaults and suicide dives and all this stuff and flying all over the place. And that ring was designed. Now, what they should do, this is my suggestion, and I wish you could have 2 votes. They should have the 4-sided ring for traditional wrestling matches, and they should have They should have a separate ring in the arena. Rock concerts do it all the time. 2 separate stages. Have the 6-sided ring for the X Division matches, where the guys that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be bouncing all over the place. They should have that for X Division and the 4-sided ring for the standard wrestling matches.
But how are you going to do that with where are you going to put the 6-sided
side by side? WCW did 2 rings side by side forever. You could have them a few feet apart. This is the ring for the X Division matches, and this is the ring for the high flying crazy X thing hanging above, all that stuff, flying all over the place. Those guys, you have Amazing Red was always good for that, bouncing all over the place. But have that ring for those particular types of matches, and the 4-sided ring for just the traditional matches.
Right.
That's just that's what I would like to see. They'll never do that, but I would like to see it. That's what I would do if I were Dixie Carter or whoever makes the decision, Big John, whatever. If I were making the decisions like that in production, I would do that.
Do you think they go to big enough? Because do you think that arena down in Orlando is big enough to do that?
They're not going to be in Orlando anymore. It's done. That was their last Orlando show. Was like the tapings that ended last week. They're done
back on the road again.
I think so. Yeah, they're going to be at a particular venue. But what are you drinking, man?
Spring water from Walmart.
Oh, yummy. I think they'll do like a month's worth of tapings from a different venue. They'll have one live show after the pay-per-view or whatever, and then they'll do a month's worth of tapings at some venue. You see, when Bethlehem, PA, that crowd was hot as a firecracker, man. They wanted action tonight. They loved it. I think when they were on the road and they were live every single week, it was from a different place every week.
Right.
And that, I think the crowds were excited to see it, but I think it was too expensive. If you have maybe 12 tapings a year, have a live one show, and then follow that up with 3 more weeks of tapings, 3 more weeks worth of tapings, I should say, the next night at that venue or another. They'll be fine. That would be totally fine, because I think it would create more of a buzz. TNA's coming this month to New York, and it's coming next month to California, and the following month to wherever. I think that might be what they're doing.
They need to be in front of a wrestling crowd, and partially what they're in Orlando is not a wrestling crowd. They get people in off the streets at Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, you want to go to a wrestling show? And they say, hell, it's hot out here. I'm going to go into an air conditioning building.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit down and get free air conditioning.
Yeah. And they clap along. I mean, it was the same thing with the WCW Worldwide tapings. I'd be clapping for Disco Inferno or whatever. It was just corny. Yeah, you'd see pasty white legs of these middle-aged men in their Bermuda shorts with the wife and kids, and it's just kind of lame. But tonight, that Bethlehem, PA, look, man, Eastern PA, and the boys on the Hangout know it. Eastern PA and New York and New Jersey and surrounding areas, tri-state area, it's a wrestling hotbed, and this is a smart week of tapings.
Right.
I think that crowd tonight was really into it. They got the air sucked out of them when there was too much bullshitting in the ring. But with the matches, they loved the action. You could clearly see that. And I think they'll go to places that are wrestling hotbeds now.
Well, we got a tweet in from the Horseman Hangout a few minutes ago. I didn't read this out because we were talking. I don't know which one this is from, but one of them said the knockouts draw the highest rating. That's the point of that knockout segment. That's what they said.
That's fine. They didn't. They talked about Taryn Terrell returning, and all she did was talk. Whatever. That was
if I'm not mistaken, that is the girl that got Drew McIntyre in trouble with WWE, right?
I don't know. I don't know about it. I don't know what happened. I hadn't heard anything about that.
I guess they got into a fight in the hotel, and I don't know. It put a lot of heat on Drew McIntyre, and he never got back in good graces with them.
He was never as over as he was in that goofy 3MB. They did something for him. They weren't supposed to catch on. That was supposed to be a punishment, but it caught on.
Yeah. But, so we had a few tag matches tonight. We had 2 tag team title matches. We still, the Wolves still with the tag titles. What did you think of the tag matches tonight?
They were really good wrestling matches. It was both the tag titles and the world heavyweight title were defended twice in one night. It was good. They were good. They're good matches. I think they're just throwing singles wrestlers together. It's a tag team today. I think and WWE could follow suit as well. And I know that Justin DiBiase loves the Usos, and that's a tag team. And I think that the wrestling business overall needs more tag teams, not 2 singles wrestlers put together like a Teddy Long SmackDown main event. There needs to be more tag team. If you're going to have tag team division and what's the point of being the tag team champions if there are maybe 1 or 2 other tag teams? There needs to be more tag teams, not just a series of singles wrestlers put together for the night. Good wrestling, but in the long run, it's like if you don't have a division, one team does not a division make. So they need more tag teams, and so does the WWE has more, certainly has a lot more, but I think that all wrestling needs more tag teams. Ring of Honor probably has the best tag team division. If you're talking about tag team wrestling, Ring of Honor has the best tag team division, but I think TNA they definitely need more teams.
Yeah, I got to get caught up on my ROH. They have a pay-per-view this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm thinking of investing in that. It's going to be pretty good.
Have you been watching the TV tapings as of late? I haven't watched it for a couple weeks.
Ring of Honor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I DVR it every week. I usually catch it during the week at some point, but it's on here every weekend, so I DVR it. But yeah, I have been.
You actually have. That's good. You got one of the Sinclair broadcasting stations, huh?
Yeah, I do. I think it has a lot to do, and I've said this to you before. I think that has a lot to do with where they tour. And I'm in Ohio, and they come here. They come to Columbus. They come to Cincinnati a lot, live shows. They even had a TV taping here once. I think that has a lot to do with where they carry the show. And it's the same thing with ECW. You had Pennsylvania and New York and Florida were having ECW TV before a lot of others were because they came there.
What match on the ROH side are you most looking forward to in this pay-per-view? since you said that you're going to invest in it?
Oh, the Daniels and Kazarian against Red Dragon. Hands down, that will be a hell of a tag team match. No doubt. In fact, that should be the main event. I like tag team wrestling. I'm old-fashioned, but I like tag team wrestling, and I think that match is going to. Both of those teams
Still with me?
It's going to be fantastic.
Right. Yeah. I'm not. Who they're going up against the tag team champions. What is their name? The Red
Dragon.
Red Dragon. Yes.
That's Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. Yes. All right. So go ahead. Get back to Impact here.
Okay. Let's see what else happened. We had the tag matches.
Yeah, they were good.
They were very good. We already talked about the Tommy Dreamer thing. We really already talked about the TNA World Title being switched. What else do you want to talk about TNA about?
I know. I think you're right. I think we've covered everything. It was a shocking twist. I like that Bobby was back. I like that. Had a lot of good matches, but again, they waste 2 hours a week. Maximize your time, your television time. It just, I don't know. To me, I think if anything, if they have to have interviews, a backstage interview or at some podium in the back is fine. But I would like to see them do like a hot post-match interview at ringside instead of in the ring for a quarter of your show. It seems to me now that's just been pulverized to death in wrestling. Everybody in the ring.
Steve Austin's talked about that on his
and he's right. Wrestling sometimes. I mean that South Park episode. Did you see that? Did you ever watch South Park?
Yeah, I seen the wrestling episode. Yeah.
That was what the point. They were having a wrestling federation, and they barely touched each other, and they just argued the whole time and with their characters, and that was. I mean, even fans of promos are good, but if you do it all the time, I don't know. It's kind of like the ECW thing, all the carnage and chaos that people like, and if your favorite meal is steak, and you eat steak 5 nights a week, eventually you're gonna be like, well, what do you have? What else do you have? I've seen this. I've seen it all over and over and over again.
All right,
that's just me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I'm older than you guys. Maybe you think I'm old-fashioned, but that's just how I feel about it. It's my opinion. That's all.
No, I like the in-ring action of wrestling. Yes, I like a good promo, but if you're just going to do promos, they don't stand out to be like, oh, this was an amazing promo. If we're getting promos 24/7, like you said.
Yeah. It's too often. I think my main problem with it, and I think they should have a show. If they re-sign a contract with Spike, which I heard they're going to, and here's what's interesting about this, and then I'll drop it. But they were given a third hour by Spike about 2 years ago, and they did that. Reaction show, was a recap of the previous week, and then they had interviews and things. Lasted 1 week. They cut it because Spike was like, we thought you were going to have a third hour of action. That should be a prime example of what I'm saying. But I do like the reaction show, though. I think something like that, you could do it like maybe even on the website. Have something like that where if you're going to talk so much, get your point across. Storylines are great, promos are great, but if you only have 2 hours, what would be an equivalent of about an hour and 40 minutes a week of television time to get your entire roster and your product over, you shouldn't spend so much time with in-ring promos. It's just a WWE thing that they can get away with because their shows are 3 hours.
All right, let's get into some WWE talk.
Okay.
All right, we have the field match is set for the WWE World Heavyweight Title ladder match. What do you think about this? What do you think about the 7 competitors?
I was pleased to see that they're going to have a second ladder match, as I told you they were going to do. This one being for the briefcase, but the one we're talking about now is for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think you have guys in there. It's kind of funny because you have a mix of guys that the audience would love to see as the champion, like Cesaro, like Bray Wyatt, and then you also have guys that nobody wants to see win the championship, like Orton and Cena. So it's an interesting mix of wrestlers there.
So
it
we
should
have
be okay.
Orton, let's just go down. We have Orton, Cena, Bray Wyatt. Who else do we have?
Cesaro. Roman Reigns. He's another one the fans would love to see. Yeah, Roman Reigns. Sheamus. And Alberto Del Rio. Yeah.
Alberto Del Rio. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want Alberto Del Rio. I've never. Not that he's not a good wrestler, in-ring wrestler. I just don't think he has much charisma. He doesn't really do anything for me, charisma-wise. And but so who do you think will? Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say he did it one time when he had his own ring introduction with Ricardo and his cars. He was like the Mexican JBL. It worked for me. I liked it.
Right. So, who do you think will come out on top on this?
I had a big discussion with this at work today with a coworker friend of mine, Greg. He hates John Cena, but he fears that John Cena will win this. I don't think so. I hope it's not. I hope it's not Cena, and I hope it's not Orton. I think it might be Cesaro. So I'm going with Cesaro right now because Paul Heyman even said a spoiler alert. I think that was kind of funny. I don't know. I'm guessing Cesaro. This would be an opportunity for a guy who wouldn't necessarily pin the champion to win the title like a Bray Wyatt or a Cesaro. So I think Cesaro.
I'm also going to go with Cesaro. But if they don't give it to Cesaro, I would take Alberto Del Rio at this point before I would want Cena or Orton to win the title.
Yeah, that's been done to death. And I think that those two guys are kind of the WWE's default button. They go to them when, if your champion's hurt, give it to Cena or Orton.
I think
that's why both of them have the title so many times.
Yeah. Orton has 12, I believe, and Cena is 15. I think this would be his 15th.
Wow, that's just hard to fathom. Because they hot potato the championships, Champions don't matter.
Maybe it would be... If Orton would win this would be his 13th, yeah. And then
either way, it's far too many for a guy who's not even in his mid-30s yet. It's just... I don't know. I think that it's a shame. It is.
Yeah.
Because that used to really mean something for the wrestling fit. To people who actually like wrestling, it used to mean something. But it doesn't anymore.
Yeah. But, I also go with Cesaro. I'm looking forward to being in Boston for this pay-per-view. I always enjoy the Money in the Bank ladder matches, even though this, this is for the 2 titles. I'm really not too keen on the match being settled. I mean, back when they did this in, December, this was supposed to be this epic ladder match that was supposed to, prove who the real champion is, and then a few months later down the road, they're going right back to it.
Well, I think the timing is such that, in this case, you have a number of competitors in it. Now, keep in mind, the second ladder match is for the briefcase, so this person can cash
Correct.
in at any time. You might see two new champions in one night. That would be a unique twist. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I was thinking about that earlier. Like somebody like Cena wins or Orton, whoever, and the guy who wins the briefcase could cash in. You'd see two champions crowned in one night. That would be pretty neat.
Right. Right. So we
Somebody
have
else. I don't know who's going to be in that second. I know Seth Rollins is. I don't know who else are they going to put in there.
I made a list of maybe guys who could be in that. I think Dean Ambrose will be in that. I thought Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose were going to have a singles match. I thought that's what it was leading to, but since Seth Rollins announced this match on main event,
Yeah.
I think Dean Ambrose might be in it. I think Bad News Barrett will be in it. Unfortunately, I think Rusev and Bo Dallas might be in it.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
Well, I just mean I don't think those two would, I don't know.
You said it.
I'm not a big fan of either one of them.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pay-per-view like this where you have multiple wrestlers in one match. It gives everyone something to do, kind of, too.
Right.
I mean, there's ones that stand out. You're like, obviously, the so-and-so is going to win, but everybody gets a payday.
Right. And I think I only had 6 guys on my list who could be in that.
They haven't been too specific on how many guys are going to be in it or how they're going to determine that, if they're going to do something on Raw with a bunch of qualifying matches or beat the clock or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do, or they're just going to name names. But I think you're right. You're going to see the usual suspects, maybe Biggie Langston, maybe well, we know Seth is in it, maybe Dean, maybe Kane. I mean, who knows? It's hard to say.
Adam Rose, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he's worthy of a title shot. We'll see.
Well,
I think who's coming out of that.
This could be. I think this is a good opportunity to have young guys. Kane. I like Kane, but he's at the end of his career. Does he really need to be in a ladder match?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know what direction they're going with it. But I did read prior to the announcement of it actually being official that they were talking about using this Money in the Bank briefcase ladder match as a way to get a new or youthful, younger wrestler over. Like they did with Damian Sandow, and like they have with what they did with Dolph Ziggler. The only reason Dolph Ziggler is not getting the push that everybody wants him to is because he's injury prone. He is concussion prone. He can't. They wanted to put the championship on him longer. He has already had several concussions to my knowledge. He's too risky. He's at risk of being in Daniel Bryan's shoes right now.
He flips around too much. He oversells, and I think that ends up him landing on his head more often than not.
He does some great spots. He always reminded me of a hybrid between Mr. Perfect and Mr. Ass. So Dolph Ziggler is the perfect ass.
Yeah. But I don't think those guys really landed more on his head. He kind of just,
Hennig always used to.
And,
Kurt Hennig
lands right on his head a lot.
He does. Kurt Hennig always used to, though. He always used to take bumps. He was bump crazy.
Yeah.
Mr. Perfect was. I used to love Mr. Perfect. When I was a kid, he was one of my favorites. I loved him. Him and Bobby Heenan were excellent. And I think they could I would like to see them do something similar to that with Dolph Ziggler, put him with some cocky, smart-ass manager like Heyman or something. That would be great. But no, that's the only reason he's not in any kind of shithouse or outhouse or doghouse or henhouse in WWE. It's just because he's too injury-prone and he's had too many concussions, and he's a risk. They're not going to put somebody in the championship position who could be out with an injury tomorrow. And he has proven that he is that type of person. His body is injury prone, like you said. Maybe it is the bumps he takes.
Yeah. what else to talk about? Do you have anything that you'd like to talk about?
I'm open, brother. This is our first show. Let's make it a good one. You want to wrap it up quick tonight or what?
No. I was just curious if you had anything you wanted to talk about.
Well, we were talking about, you said you wanted to talk about WWE. What else about WWE? We talked about the Money in the Bank. We talked about the title ladder match, whatever. What else? I don't know. Okay, here's another one. That vomiting, Stephanie McMahon vomiting on Big. I cannot stand toilet humor. It made Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon laugh, I'm sure, but it's just so pointless. I really just cannot stand that kind of thing. We talked about it the other night, or last week, whatever, on the Extreme Hangout episode. How sometimes that stuff is okay and sometimes it isn't. But with, when DX had, shit falling all over the McMahons, and someone getting vomited on, and stink faces, and I hate it. I really hate that stuff. It makes me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the stink face was more. That was one of his moves, That was one of his signature moves,
Yeah, but it led to people gagging and kissing Vince's ass and all that. It's just stupid. It's just so idiotic. It's really
Vince McMahon's sick mind.
But anybody, I feel, and there are fun comedy in wrestling is okay. Some funny moments like The Rock's stuff or Jericho's stuff or Stone Cold stuff, Mick Foley stuff. It's funny because the things that are making you laugh that they're saying and doing is part of their actual persona. It's part of their character. It's getting that particular character over. It's something they would say. It's a lot of actors say, my character wouldn't say this. But that stuff was funny because those characters would say that stuff. But somebody, boogers and fart jokes and just so stupid. I'm not a sophomore in high school. It's ridiculous. I don't like that. I think that serves no purpose other than to make Vince. They're trying to get a pop out of Vince, get a rise out of Vince. That's it. It does nothing for the product. It does nothing. It doesn't put an ass in a seat. It doesn't sell a pay-per-view buy. It doesn't get people to buy the network. It doesn't get people to tune into Raw. It's just bullshit. Bullshit.
I mean, it's like when Jericho came out and made fun of Stephanie.
That's different because it was funny. That's the kind of shit he would say. The difference, Roman Reigns slipping something into Vicky Guerrero's coffee that she gave to Stephanie. Stephanie threw up a gallon of vomit, green vomit, all over Vicky just so she could scream. It is an insult to anybody who watches that and finds that entertaining. Then they are a simpleton. That was a turnoff to me. I would be embarrassed to watch. If I try to get people check this wrestling out or this, I would be ashamed to watch that in front of somebody and explain why I still watch this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just retarded.
If it follows a storyline and pursues the storyline, yes, it's okay. But when, like you said, it serves no purpose.
Nothing.
There was no storyline to it.
No, it's the point of it is to make the people to make Vince and Kevin Dunn laugh. That's it.
Yeah, Kevin Dunn is not well liked. I've never really, I don't know who. I've never met him. I've never, he's that behind the scenes producer, I guess, right?
He's been directing WWF and WWE for probably 30 years now. Producer, director. I don't know. The only thing I'll give him credit for is they've always been the kings of they used to do them. They don't anymore, but they used to have great trailers for the pay-per-views or great like the 30-second to a minute preview for a pay-per-view with the epic sounding colossal classical music blasting and black and white segments from matches and building to a pay-per-view, that kind of thing. I can't think of what you would call that, but
Promos, whatever.
well, whatever you want to call it. But he was responsible for a lot of those, and those were really well done. There's no denying that. They were always really good. But it's just such. Sometimes they just waste so much time on wrestling.
Yeah. Let's see if
the only reason that I heard that Jim Cornette said the only reason that Kevin Dunn is still with the WWE is because he was promised a lifetime job because he had a trunk full of tapes that he was taking to the studio, and he had an accident, and he had a car accident. Car caught fire. He saved the tapes, saved their library, and he was promised a lifetime job. I don't know how true that is, but that's what Jim Cornette said. I don't know why he would. Yeah, I don't know why he would lie about it. He has no reason to lie about anything.
He said this on a shoot interview or a podcast?
Yeah, a shoot interview. He was going on about Dunn. Dunn's a scumbag. He is. He's a politician and a snake, and he's just done a lot of lousy things to people, and he's a whiner, little bitch, and he
like I said, I don't know too much about him. I don't really,
That's just what I heard. I can only go by what I've heard. I don't know these people.
Right.
But you hear more negatives about him than positives from most people that do know him.
I have never heard. I've never heard anything good about him. Let's say,
Exactly.
Have you heard about the major budget cuts that WWE's been making? I guess they have one of their major budget cuts have been to cut the bus for the production teams, and apparently they're going to have to get their own way to the shows, I guess, now.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I was a manager at a hotel in Seattle, and I met all the guys, we talked about this before, I met the whole Raw crew came in. I'm talking everybody from the creative team to production guys to the lighting team to the wrestlers. And Kevin Dunn was there too, and he was hanging out in the hot tub with John Laurinaitis. Anyway, they all got there in their own cars. Everybody drove from Portland to Seattle, and that's closer. That's further than it is to Canada. That's like a 3-hour drive, I know. So they all were there. Everybody was pulling up in their own cars. Everybody. There were maybe a handful of guys that came together in a limo or a big vehicle. Everybody came and drove. So I think that was already the case.
Now, how long ago was this that you did this?
That I did what?
That you
this happened? That day. That was 2008. It was right after a pay-per-view they had in Portland in October, and they came up to Seattle for Raw. And then the SmackDown team went to Spokane or Yakima or something. But anyway, yeah, they all drove up. I mean, I was telling Lillian Garcia where to park. I was telling, everybody was just pulling up. And they all came. I think Vince came up in a limo, and I got a call from his. You'll find this funny. I got a call from his personal assistant, Beth. Like I said, I was a front office manager at the time, and I got a call from Beth, and she said Mr. McMahon is coming in, and he wants 2 rare cheeseburgers in his suite, and his freezer packed with ice packs. So the kitchen is closed or closing. So I run into there and I say, Vince McMahon's coming in here. I told them exactly how to prepare his burger, what he wanted. She gave me specifics on it, and I don't even remember now. Rare. Have him in his room waiting for him. So I told the kitchen crew, make the burgers, and they had it already in his room, and there was ice packs in his freezer before they got there. That was pretty neat. It was pretty wild. I got to see a lot of people that night. That whole weekend, or that whole couple of days. I mean, everybody was really nice.
Did you meet Vince himself? Did you get to see him?
Did you see my picture with me and Vince? I have it on my thing.
I've seen it in the little screen when you come on.
Yeah, that's from that night.
That's awesome.
The reason why that picture looks so gritty is I was using a disposable camera, and the lighting was strange in the lobby. This was late at night.
Good old disposable camera days. I remember.
That's what that is. So that's how I got that photo on there.
That's awesome.
It was yeah. But Vince was cool. I talked to him for a little bit. I talked to Randy Orton. I talked to Mysterio. I got pictures with them. I talked to Santino, the writing team. It was Krista Joseph, Brian Gewirtz, and Kali's manager. Him. They're the three writers. We were talking about creative and stuff.
Rajin Singh or whatever.
Yeah. The three. I was talking to the three of them, and then they went to the restaurant bar across the street and got hammered.
So this was in. Where did you say this was again? Sorry.
Seattle, Washington. When I was a manager at the Warwick Hotel in Seattle.
Is that where? So you were just living there at the time, and you were.
I lived in Seattle for about 10 years between 2000 and. Actually, I moved shortly after that night. So I moved right around Thanksgiving of 2008. So I was there about eight and a half years.
That's cool. So have you? I don't know if I've asked you this. Have you been to WrestleMania?
Yes, in Seattle as well. WrestleMania 19. That was Stone Cold and Stone Cold's retirement match against The Rock. That was Vince against Hogan. That was the Brock Lesnar moonsault where he landed on his face against Kurt.
Killed himself. Yes.
Yeah, that and Shawn Michaels and Jericho. I was there for that, and I'll never forget that. They say, like I said, I've been to Raw, I've been to SummerSlam, and I've been to I've been to SmackDown, and a few other things, wrestling shows, lots of Raws, but nothing. WrestleMania does have a feeling of all its own. That's not some hype. That's for sure. It really does. I will never forget it.
Yeah, like you said, I've been to lots of Raws in Boston, Manchester, New Hampshire, and I remember a few things from those shows. But I went to WrestleMania 28, and even though I had shitty seats, I will never forget any of that show. It will be ingrained in my head for the rest of my life.
I was pretty lucky to get my tickets. I had a friend who was working at the Washington State Athletic Club, and the VIP members of the athletic club got first dibs on a batch of tickets that they had for the event for WrestleMania. And my friend said there were so many left because a lot of these old farts didn't care about this wrestling. So she sold one to me. Two to me. So I was pretty lucky. I got them at a really good price, too.
Where were your seats?
Probably the first. You had the floor, because that was a baseball. That's a baseball stadium. That's right. The Safeco Field. So it's the whole field, and then the first level it starts to go up. I was maybe about 3 rows into the level it starts to go up. So I was bird's eye view to the ring. So it was really good. It was really good seats. I could see it was just straight ahead. And then you had the camera. You had like screens surrounding it, so if you couldn't see what was going on, it had different angles and stuff. And it was just really special, really a special show. Like I said, like you say the same thing about rock concerts. You go to some rock concerts. Oh, I've seen this and this and this. Certain ones stand out, and of course WrestleMania. I can always say if I never go to another one again, I've been to one, and it really was memorable, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, like I said, my seats weren't the greatest. Actually, they wouldn't have been bad seats, but they had that stupid palm trees, and you were at the cell.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up a picture here on my Twitter. I have a bunch of them on there. I'm trying to look. Yeah, they had those stupid palm trees, and I just But they had the big video board on, so I could see it on the big video board, which was,
Yeah.
But
Well, this was
just being there in the atmosphere was awesome. And
it was, and part of this. This was the first in Seattle at the safe. The safe, that was the first non-baseball event that was held in that venue, and it was the first time it was ever full.
Right. That was the first non-baseball event, and it was full. That's awesome.
Yep, that was the first non-baseball event in that venue, and the first time that venue was ever to capacity.
Right.
And it was from wrestling, and they never came back, which I don't understand. They never came back there because they should have come back there.
Right.
For something.
The funniest thing is WWE put Mick Foley and a bunch of other people in a suite right behind where I was.
Yeah.
So Mick Foley got the same view I did. So a Hall of Famer got the same view I did. That was pretty
nice.
Funny.
Well, I want the VIP seating in the back there, those box seats.
Yeah, the box seats. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
well, he was up there. He was up there having eating and drinking. Yeah.
Yeah, but he also had a TV monitor right in front of him, so he really wasn't looking out.
Well, I went to a Pirates game in Pittsburgh, and I was in one of those before.
Yeah.
It's just like sitting around a big condo with food and drinks. People are just sitting around talking, and then maybe they watch the game.
Yeah, I actually sat in one for when Edge retired. I didn't initially buy the tickets for it. We went to the arena in Connecticut. It was in Bridgeport, Connecticut, a shit town. I will never go back to that place. And I just happened to go to this Raw on a whim. We hadn't been to Raw in a while, and I said to my dad, "Let's go to Raw." And it's in Bridgeport. It's 3 hours. It was a 3+ hour drive. We had to get a hotel, obviously. And when we got to the arena, some guy came up to us and goes, "We're selling press boxes. Would you like them?" And it was like $50 a person. I said, "Sure, why not?"
Yeah.
And it's nice, It's you're not crunched up next to everybody,
Yeah. Well, press passes. I mean, I mentioned this on the Extreme show, Horseman Hangout. I didn't go into too much detail, but I told Ryan about this. My friend and I used to. I'll backtrack a minute. There were four of us. We were like the four musketeers. We're like the four horsemen.
Yep.
My one friend Neil, we all were into wrestling, big time. My one friend went to Europe. He joined the Army. He was in the Army when we were in school. He was in the reserves, but he was in full time, and he went to Europe. And he wanted me to. He asked me to keep him up to date on what was happening on wrestling. This was 1993 or 4, and I used to just write him all this stuff about what happened on Raw and whatever. And my other friend and I decided to turn this actually into a little business, so we started making a newsletter, and we hired a guy named Howard Kernatz, I think his name was. We bought pictures from him to publish in our newsletter. And because of this, we got press passes to ECW shows when they came to Pittsburgh and independent stuff. So we got to see. I met Paul Heyman. I met Tommy Dreamer. I met Francine, or not Francine. Beulah was with him at the time. A bunch of guys. We just saw so many people. But when you're working, it's funny because they're kayfabing you because you're the press. So Dreamer's coming to the back after taking a beating from somebody, and he's still limping around in the back. I talked to Paul Heyman for a second, so I got to Axel Rotten. So we met a lot of guys because of that.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I met a lot of wrestlers. Some are cool, some are jerks. and I believe, it all depends on how you approach them and where
Sure.
you are, you know,
Yeah,
because
I think the biggest, most of the wrestlers that I met were really cool. I think the only one who was a little annoyed with me was Michael Hayes, and I was disappointed because I thought he would have been cool. The only reason he was mad at me is because when they were staying at the Warwick, where I worked in Seattle, the hotel, he left to get a newspaper into the city somewhere, like in the middle of the night or towards early morning. And while he was gone, they delivered the USA Today's to the hotel. So he came in and said, "You guys get papers here?" I had to go get my own. He was kind of pissed. And I tried to explain, and he just let the elevator door close. I thought he was kind of being a dick about it. It was just a newspaper. He didn't ask, They get delivered to every guest's room. But I don't know. I was a little disappointed because I would have talked to him about a ton of stuff. That would have been neat. Him and Stevie Richards was a little prick too.
I don't. The only one that I had a really bad, it wasn't really a bad experience. I think it was just early in the morning and, or no, it was late in the afternoon, and I really didn't have a good Jim Ross meeting.
What?
Yeah, he really wasn't very, he didn't want to say hi to me. I was like, "Hi, JR," It was at Access, and it wasn't that I was at the table. I had a broken leg at the time, so I got in the area where the handicapped people, where they come down off the table. They usually sit at a table, and you go up there and you get your autograph, and you say hi to him. And he came down, and I just tried to shake his hand, and he just kind of no-sold me.
Huh. Well, everybody has their off days.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was. I think it was an off day, because Jerry Lawler was right next to him. They were doing the signing together, and he was awesome. He was, very talkative and taking a pitch. He took a picture with me, and
The King?
Jim Ross was just like, "Yeah, I'll sign that. Here you go."
Well, I mean, Access is all about meeting the people, so I don't know what that was about. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. Could have been a bad day. I don't know.
My pitch of JR's products in Pittsburgh went well.
Yeah, how'd that go? I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, they're interested. There's just a few other channels to go through, but they're pretty. At least the store my mom is a manager in said that it should be something that should be on the shelves, and he gave me he told me about some links to some sites that are to their main site for the business end, because I'm just showing them this product, but they need to get a little more in depth for insurance purposes and licensing and everything.
This is Sam's Club you did this at? Right?
Yeah, Sam's Club and Walmart, because Walmart is like the mother company of Sam's.
Right.
So we shall see. I'm going to probably pitch to Kroger and Giant Eagle, because I spoke to somebody who works in the corporate of Kroger food chains, and he was talking to me today about how to get distribution for certain products.
I gotta try some of that. I've never tried any JR's barbecue sauce.
If you like barbecue sauce, his Chipotle ketchup is phenomenal. And this
spicy?
No, it's the perfect amount of just smoky flavor. Oh, it's just great, really good. It's not too hot at all. No.
How's the regular barbecue sauce? Just a plain.
It's good. It's real good. They're all the products are good. I like his hot barbecue sauce is phenomenal. You brush out a little bit of chicken breast. That's the stuff. That's good stuff.
Next time I got to get some of that. I got to make an order on WB Shop.
Just get a.
That's the only where you can get it now, right?
Right now, yeah. Other than in Oklahoma area, but there's some stores there that carry it. But that's what we're working on. We're trying to get it distribution, and we've been talking about it, so we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, get some from WWE Shop and get a bottle of, I suggest, the hot barbecue sauce, the chipotle ketchup, the main event mustard, and the all-purpose seasoning. Right. Definitely, if you like cooking, if you like barbecue, that's definitely worth a shot.
Oh, yeah. I went to school for cooking, so, yeah, I love cooking.
Yeah, that's what you said. Any luck on the work front?
I had an interview on Monday at Best Buy. I didn't get offered a job right away. They said, the basic line, we got more interviews this week, and if you hear from us, you hear from us. So. Yeah,
I know what that's like. I'm a manager, and I tell people that all the time. If they're interested in you, they'll call you. I know it because I know what the office says, and I know what they mean, and I do it every other day because I get so many applications, and people call for follow-up. I'm calling on the status of this application. The persistence is one thing, but if at least for me as a manager, if I look at somebody's application, I can tell you within 2 minutes if I'm going to even consider them. If there's certain qualifications I'm looking for, and even their personality. If they come in, firm handshake, look you in the eye, they're dedicated, they're interested to learn, they're passionate about it. You can tell by how they carry themselves. If they're walking in and they're looking at their phone and doing whatever, or they're just here's my application. And I also another thing you need to do is keep an open slate. Any position, any hours, anything. That is another thing that always is an eye catcher. If you go in there and say I'm not available on Saturday and I'm not available on evenings, it's gonna be filed with the rest of the stack.
I said there was a couple nights, but I just said I gave my reasons, and he was but I said I'm open for anything. I can work any department. There was one day I could come in at this time, but
that's for me. I'm just talking for me as a manager. When I see an applicant who tells me what they can do, I don't need 12 part-timers. You're either going to work or you aren't. That's just me. I don't know how other people operate, but you could come in there with all these degrees and all this, but if you tell me I can only do this, this, and this, I already have 3 people that do that. I have too much of that, and that's because I was trying to build a team from ground up, and I had to kind of get some pieces in place, but now I need you either, if you go in there and you tell somebody, I want to work here, it's why do you want to work here, what qualifications do you have, and when are you available? And if you tell them, well, I can't do Sunday or I can't do Saturday or whatever, it's a death blow to a lot of people. I know it.
Yeah.
So keep your options, keep your availability as open as possible. And this is from one manager to a potential employee. I'm telling you, don't tell them what you can't do, because they won't give it a second thought, unless they're desperate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they're desperate, but I'm desperate.
Get into cooking. Go to a restaurant. Work as a line cook or something.
I've been trying, man. It's hard. It's tough times.
It is. Yep.
But is there anything you want to talk about? Anything? I don't really have much anymore to talk about.
I can't. Nothing comes to mind, my friend. If you want to do your name a word association, that's okay. Well, maybe that or whatever.
We could do that. All right. The Dudley Boys going into the TNA Hall of Fame. What do you think about the Dudley Boys?
And I said it earlier. I love tag team wrestling. and they have revolutionized tag team wrestling. They have become one of probably the top, definitely within the top 20 and probably within the top 10 tag teams of all time, just because of how they've taken an established division and made it their own. And they've become synonymous with tag team wrestling. I think them gonna, if you're talking about, this is the only thing that's sad about the TNA Hall of Fame is the only inductees that they have are wrestlers who started elsewhere. They don't. I think that they should have their own. Like WWE is, most of their Hall of Fames every year are WWE based guys. So if you have their TNA's Hall of Fame as of October will be the Dudleys, Kurt Angle, and Sting. Now, Sting, WCW. The Dudleys, ECW. Kurt Angle, WWF. So all four Hall of Fame inductees are guys that were not TNA originals. And they let AJ Styles go. Cowboy James Storm is still there. Bobby Roode is still there. Samoa Joe, he's not a TNA original, but he's been there practically the whole time, save for a few years. There's a few others that were born and bred on a national scale in TNA, like Daniels and Kazarian, Chris Sabin. There's so many guys that just they were not there for a cup of coffee. They were there from day one. They should have been in their Hall of Fame before established stars from other organizations. Right. And that's another example of them not taking advantage of. They were a homespun grassroots company like ECW. It was the same principle. Maybe not the same style all the time, or maybe not the same system, but you had a core group of hungry wrestlers who finally made it on a national scale in a company that was its own. It was out of Nashville. It was very unique. It was that six-side ring, the X Division. They tried new things to set themselves apart, and I think a lot of that had to do with Jarrett, not Jeff, his dad. So
yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I can't remember his first name, but anyway, he tried to create a company that was grassroots, that was full of hungry stars. They have a they've only been in business for 12 years. Maybe it's probably a little premature to have a Hall of Fame, but if they're going to have a Hall of Fame, and they do, it should be filled with their own homespun stars that were known for being TNA guys, not an ECW tag team and a WWF wrestler and a WCW star. Just my opinion. But Dudley's, again, they took the tag team wrestling. They took tag team wrestling. They are, you have every decade has a few tag teams that were probably as successful in their slot on the card as the singles competitors were. A lot of wrestling companies, like the WWE, for example, they put more emphasis on singles competitors, and that's fine. It sells more T-shirts or whatever, but they're missing the mark as far as tag teams go. I think they're getting it now. Triple H's influence is proof of that. Tag teams are strong now, but there were maybe a handful of tag teams, 5 to 10 tag teams, that were as successful or as important or meaningful or loved as the single stars. And that would be like, the Horsemen, the Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, Road Warriors, the Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation. And you can't You can't name all those names if you watch wrestling in the last 30 years and not include the Dudleys.
I mean, they have, 23 World Tag Team titles? Something like that?
Yeah. But they could have been the main event. What I mean is, your main event is usually one-on-one. But sometimes you can get, Steiner Brothers were another one. They were just, it's a matter of the whole is better than the sum of its parts. Bully Ray is pretty strong singles competitor, but he's really good. I mean, he's really good. But certain tag teams are as solid, and they're solid place on the card, and the crowd really will pay to see them, and they're definitely one of those teams.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they were an intricate part of, the Attitude Era. Some of the stuff they did in the Attitude Era, putting, Mae Young through the table,
That's what you remember about the Dudleys?
No, I'm just saying that some of the stuff...
Forget the Attitude Era. Forget the Attitude Era. They were causing riots in the ECW arena. They were pissing so many people off. That was good stuff. I mean, they could go in there and just curse out the front row, and that was good old school heat right there. That was, and is there a bunch? The thing that made me laugh about that the most, he'd call out. Bully would call somebody in the front row, tell them your mother's a whore and all this, and these fans in that ECW arena are these ECW fans that profess to be so smart and so aware, and we know it's fake, would have shot them if they had guns in their hands. But they took this smart crowd that was, we're smarter than everybody else. We know this stuff's bullshit. We're pissed off at the Dudleys major. If you will go watch, and it's not even on the network, maybe some of the old hardcore TV, watch some of the Dudley interviews where they're just pissing people off majorly. And this is a crowd that was so we're smarter than everybody else. We're mad. And that was brilliant. And that was so good. You talk about in-ring promos, those were hot. Those were pipe bombs. And they were just insulting the people in the audience. It had nothing even to do with the matches. And those people were fired up. That was good stuff.
Yeah, I was just using that as an example. That's not all I remember about the Dudley Boys. I mean, the Dudley Boys are just a great tag team that will go down, like you said, as one of the top 10 tag teams ever.
They were a tag team, and I'll say it again, they were a tag team that could have headlined a card. And in fact, I think I saw one of the ECW shows that I was in person. I think it was the Dudleys against New Jack and Mustafa. What was that team? I don't know. I think it was against them.
Gangsters?
Yes, bleeding on in front of me. There was blood pooled, and I was standing on my chair because it was a one-level auditorium. I think it was the Ross Traver Ice Gardens in suburban Pittsburgh. It looks like it's Ice Gardens. It's a hockey rink, so it's flat and then a bunch of seats. So I had floor seats, but everybody's seats, there's no levels. It's flat and then balconies or bleachers. So I had floor seats and everybody's standing. So I'm standing on my chair because at the time we're covering the show for our newsletter. And they brawled in front of us, and they knocked the guys in front of us. Some of the guys got knocked over in chairs, and a cheese grater, and it was like fans were bringing weapons, and they were beating each other with a stop sign, and blood had pooled. They were fighting over about 10 feet from me, and blood was just pouring and spilling right in front of my feet. Like if I stepped down off my chair, I was going to step in blood, and it was blood. So that was carnage, man, and that was the main event. That was the last match of the night, because I remember I didn't want to step in the blood, so I walked across. My friend and I went on the chairs and waited for the row of people to move out, and we walked on the chairs and walked out because there was just blood everywhere.
I've never experienced that. That must have been crazy seeing
It was a lot of fun. It was fun and funny. I said this. We're not in ECW arena, but the ECW came to our town and they brought it.
I mean, that must have been really weird seeing a pile of blood and being like, oh shit, that's really close to me.
Well, yeah, there were like two guys over here, and they were just pounding on each other and beating each other with things and got knocked down and pounding and blood. Yeah, it was an ECW carnage, and because the road, it was just a bunch of. Oh, am I making you sick?
No.
Their chairs are just a bunch of steel folding chairs, so they're pulling chairs out from under people and hitting each other. It was everywhere. My point is, it was the main event of that night. It was a tag team match, and it's not something you see all the time.
Yeah, I don't think they ever main evented on Raw, did they? When they came to WWF?
Probably not.
No.
I don't know. We're talking about classics. On Raw, I don't know what they. I don't know. I probably not. I don't think so.
I don't remember any. Jerry Jarrett's his name. You're talking about Jeff Jarrett's dad.
Yeah, Jerry. I don't know why I didn't remember that. But yeah, him. He tried to make ECW. You need alternatives. If you're going to watch wrestling, you expect people to watch Ring of Honor and TNA and WWE. I want all wrestling. I'm saying this right now, and I will always say this. I love all wrestling. I respect all wrestling, and I want all wrestling to survive and grow. I want the business to grow. I'm a fan of the business. I want it to succeed. There needs to be more than a monopoly. I love the network. I love what that affords us to see. But I want all companies to do well. I want other options. I want alternatives. I want places that wrestlers get fired today, they can go tomorrow. There needs to be that for this business to really thrive and survive.
Right. Yeah. I love going to all wrestling events, you know. Like, I go to indie events down in Massachusetts, and me and my dad go, and we have so much fun. It's just, you know, it's like, I never went to an ECW show. I was too small, and, you know, my mom never would have let me go to something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
I could tell you another story. I went to an ECW show, and I showed up under the influence, and I got sick there. And in fact, I think that it can be purchased as a bootleg handheld show. I was maybe 3 rows back, and I was in bad shape that night. I received some bad news. That day, and I decided to wash it away. And then my cousin and I went to the show, and it was I was in really bad shape that night.
Yeah. Do you remember the show very much?
No, this was September in 1999. I don't know. I don't remember anything about it. No. That was in the David L. Lawrence Convention Center in Pittsburgh. I remember the day. I remember that day like it was yesterday, but I don't remember the matches.
Right.
I think I passed out.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nothing I'm proud of. It's just a funny story because I was an idiot at the time.
I don't know if I've done this one yet, but Jerry the King Lawler.
For some reason, he blocked me on Twitter. I don't know what I said or did. I tried to retweet something he wrote, or so, it wouldn't let me. And then I went to his page, and I tried. It said follow. I tried to follow him, and it said this has been blocked at the request of the user. And I don't know what I did. I don't know what I wrote. I don't. I like the King. Honestly, I don't know. I even I tweeted that to him. I said, what happened? I don't know. But I was at a show in Seattle. I think it was a Raw, and it was in 2004, and it said Jerry the King Lawler for president, and it was huge. And I held it up, and he looked over from the booth because they were down below where I was sitting, and he gave me a thumbs up and smiled at that sign. He saw the sign. The guy is still going. I don't know what's going on, if if his show still runs Saturday mornings out of Memphis. He looks incredibly good for his age. He hosted tonight's Legends House reunion.
I have not watched that yet. I gotta watch that.
It was pretty neat. He looks really good for his age. I think he's had a lot of work done.
He's definitely had some facial work done. You can see it. You can see it right underneath the chin. You can see the scar that he's had a facelift.
Yeah, give me 10 seconds. All right, I have returned. Yeah, the King is good. I remember watching the night he had his heart attack, and I was laying on my couch and watching the show, and I had this weird feeling. I said, he's not going to make it. I really didn't think he was. I thought we were going to have another Owen Hart-style tribute night, and luckily he persevered, and they said he was unconscious, unresponsive for 18 minutes. That is uncanny, that he is functional, let alone alive.
Right. And on
because usually it's like if you don't have enough oxygen to your brain or blood flow, it'll screw you up. And if he was out for that long, man, that guy's got a hell of a resolve. He's got a hell of a constitution. And then he's wrestling. It was like, what, a few months later, he's back in the ring. The guy still goes. He said that there was those elbow drops from Dolph Ziggler to his chest. There was possibly a reason for his heart attack.
Yeah, I heard
that. It was that night he had that match, and then he goes to the booth and he passed out.
That's crazy.
But I like the King. Hey, if you're watching this, Jerry the King, I don't know why you blocked me on Twitter. I don't know, but I did, or said, tweeted.
I have actually been blocked by several people on Twitter for some reason or another. I believe I have Hulk Hogan blocked me. I believe Shawn Michaels blocked me.
Wow, he's even in your pic.
Hi?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
What held you? Okay. He's even in your picture and he blocked you, Sean.
Yes.
Jeez.
I think it might be, you know what I think it might be, Mark? I think it might be sometimes your my account has been hacked before, and I think my account might have sent out some weird tweets to them. That's the only thing I could think of.
Like those, you know what, I've seen it, because sometimes you will see certain Twitter pages that you follow, and then it will be like some get-rich-quick scheme type thing or something, some ad. I've seen that before. So I blocked certain things because of it, consequently.
I think that's what it is. I think my account sent out some things unbeknownst to me, that they didn't like, so they blocked me. So
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have. I couldn't imagine one thing that I would have said about the King. The King is a goddamn legend. I love him. He's great. I have no problem with Jerry the King. So I would never have said anything insulting or whatever offensive to him. So yeah, it's probably something like that then.
well, that's all I have right tonight. So I think I'm gonna. It's 12:30. I think I'm gonna call it a show tonight.
All right. Hey, it was a great one. I'm looking forward to next week.
All right. So
We'll have to maybe get. What's that?
Oh, what were you saying? Sorry. Go ahead.
I just said maybe we'll get someday we'll get some other people on here. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It was great. This is a history making inaugural O'Reilly Wrestling Hangout.
Yes. I
All right,
actually have to do that next week. I have to put the wrestling part in there. I didn't put the wrestling part in there.
See,
that was my bad.
Yes, you didn't even you check out our Twitter page.
Yes.
O'Reilly Hangout at O'Reilly Hangout. Check us out, and I will see you next week.
If you want to plug your Twitter, go ahead.
I am at Real Mark Golden on Twitter.
And I am at Triple H Guy 2004. And you guys have a good week, and we will see you guys later.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.